My name is Stephen Cash. When I was a child, my daddy took me to work on Saturday back in the 70s. The earliest recollection I had was when we would write dates on the bottom of shoe soles, and I have one here that says 1971. So I started at, working. I was like, what, 10 years old? So I started working, and then he would rotate me with my brother every other Saturday, and then during the summer, I would work every 6 days a week, and I get $5 a day. And then when I was in probably the ninth grade is when I got more serious about working. And the guy that worked there had a heart attack, and he basically quit working. So I would come in after school, probably 2:30, and I would work until 5:30, and then I'd work some at night, and then from there it just got more and more working.
Was that at this location?
No, my daddy started with his brother at Little Five Points in Durham. His his brother owned a convenience store, and there was a shoe shop beside of him, and he went over there. His brother kept asking the guy, did he want to sell it? Did he want to sell it? So finally one day he says, yeah, I want to sell it. So he sold it to his brother, and his brother run it, and my daddy had just got back from the Korean War, and his other job didn't work out. So he went to work for his brother on the GI Bill. And from there he bought another shop, Edgemont, and it was in the 50s. And he worked there. He owned the shop. Then he went from there to Wellens Village, and he run that until Northgate in Durham opened. And he was one of the first 7 shops that opened at Northgate, and that was in I'm gonna say 1960. So, and then my mama actually waited on the front when she was pregnant with me. And so that's how it all started.
And what would your mother do working in the store?
She waited on the front. She customers. She didn't do no repair, but she waited on the front.
So why did you love it so much to start increasing your hours after school and come here every day after school?
I like. That's a good question because I don't know why. To be honest with you, I like working with my hands. I love what I do. If I was a plumber, I would be a good plumber. But this was, I reckon, easy to obtain. I would say easier, but I love working with my hands and helping people, and I make a living at it.
Could you describe, you said you started at around age 10. Could you describe some of the early responsibilities you had in the shop?
Goofing off, pretty much. I started shining shoes and stuff like that, and then going around the edges of shoes, and I wanted to learn more, and my dad would teach me more uh, as time went on. So it's just kind of like you just grow into it. Yeah, what we did, because you would repair a pair of shoes, and they'd come back and say the sole wore out too quick, and we used good leather, and we'd put our name on there, and sign it, and it's around here somewhere. They took it off at Northgate years ago when I was over here, and I saved it. And Lord, I don't know, it's back there somewhere. I know I didn't throw it away, but it had my name on it. It had 1971. You know, it's just something you write up under the heel.
Is that like on the inside?
It's on up under the like a man's shoe, up under the when you take the heel off. Yeah, up under the heel. They couldn't see it.
Yeah.
You know. So it was 1971. But, you know, I've done this all my life. Well, shoes to me are being made cheaper and a lot more synthetic. When I started in Durham in the 70s, most shoes that you repaired, men's shoes and ladies' shoes, they were all leather. Now you've got all kind of synthetics, urethanes, plastic, and it's I wouldn't say harder, but it's different process of repairing them. Because back then, you know, you put a leather sole on, and it was a leather shoe, had a leather welt, and now you've got a lot of plastics, and we use different glue for attaching stuff. But the urethane, you've got to have the right equipment to put on the plastics and stuff. And be honest with you, we use something, I would say it's super glue, to be quite honest with you, to attach a lot of these plastic shoes, urethane shoes and stuff. And then we have like on a vibram sole, like if we do a hiking boot, it's it's called I can't think of the name of it now, but it's a different kind of glue, and then we put chlorine wash on the vibram rubber. So I don't know what it does, but there's a chemical reaction to where the glue, once you do the chlorine wash, you let it dry, and then you use that plastic or glue. My guy calls it plastic, but it's a different glue that you put on there, and then you let it dry, and then you heat it up. And then that's with a hiking boot. Then you put the vibram sole on there. It's the only way I know it can stick. You get a lot of shoes that are made out of urethane that they disintegrate. And like a solo hiking boots, vast hiking boots, you get about an 8 to 10 year wear. Most people that buy them boots, they pay $300 for a pair of boots. They wear them one time, they stick them in the closet. Next snow we get 8 or 10 years later, they break them out, and the sole, the urethane disintegrates. That's a lot of shoes are like that. You know, Blundstone boots, some of the Sonita clogs, 8 to 10 years, and they're about done. And shoes that are glued on now, it's about probably 8 to 10 years, and the glue just does not hold the material together. It's probably, my thing is, it's probably the environment is making them change their glues. I mean, I just had a girl come in here the other day. She bought a pair of dance goes that were made by Sonita. She bought a pair of green suede ones she loved off of one of these eBays or something like that. She wore them one time and the bottom disintegrated.
Oh no.
So what I did was I took a new pair of Sonitas, took them apart, took the bottom, the new bottom, and put it on her bottom at $130.
That's as much as a new clog, but
More. She loved them.
Do you find that people are willing to pay a lot more to preserve something that they truly love than they might even spend on something new, or what's that relationship between?
I reckon it depends on the person. I just took in a pair of boots today that she loved them. And she wanted to get them fixed. It was $80 to fix them. But she could have probably bought a pair for $100. I don't know. I think they all need a psychiatrist, in my opinion.
They need to be out of business.
You can buy. She could have bought a new pair, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But she loved them boots, and she wanted to get them fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I could fix them, and I could do a good job. Man, I don't like to fix something that I know, and I tell people this is going to look terrible, but sometimes they still want them fixed. A lot of people come in here. I'll say about probably half of them. They know the shoe's not worth it, but I love these shoes. I want to get them fixed. So a lot of times I've had a person today say that. 2 people. The girl with the green suede clogs.
Yeah, that's true.
She was really happy. A lot of people. That get shoes fixed. That they love the job, they just love the shoe itself.
Another thing we like to ask is if you have a favorite technique or favorite tool.
This right here. I should go back there and find one I've got that says 1975 on it.
What is that thing called?
It's called a lip knife.
Okay, and what do you do with it?
You cut. See how the thing goes around there? It helps keep from cutting the up of the shoe when you're going around the sole, and you use this. But honestly, the metal in these things are so bad that you got to constantly sharpen it.
You've always had one on you.
Yes, I've always had this. I sure have. My daddy had one. It had 1969 on it, I think, that he used. So he passed away September of last year, September 19th. He was 88. I think he was 88. Or he had been 88 in 2 months. Yep. He had Alzheimer's. I hope he wanted all the glue he smelled. The only thing that I think that I've seen on YouTube is how to stretch a lady's dress boot. I did see somebody do that, and I use that a lot. But other than that, it's kind of like when you're crossing the street, you jump out in the middle of the street, and then you look both ways. It's a little late then. So I'm always doing something. Or finding a way to do the job, regardless. If I had to spend $100 to get something that I'm gonna make $10 on, that's how I would do it. And it don't make any sense, but that's just how I am. My daddy worked 6 days a week for a long time. And unfortunately, I'm working 7 days a week. I get up at 6 o'clock. I get down here around 6:30ish, and I piddle around a little bit, and I try to start work at 7. And I saw my daddy do that day after day, and I saw him come in at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning because the guy who worked there, he had a heart attack, and it's just nobody to fill the void. You can't find anybody to want to do this because, everybody wants to make more than the president, and that ain't going to happen.
Where do you find the joy in it when it feels its best? Like, where are your moments of satisfaction and
When you finish something, like I had a guy, he had 6 pair of shoes, ladies' shoes that he brought in for his wife. Had 6 pair of shoes. It wasn't a big job. Heels and insoles and stuff like that. And then he comes in. He left them 2 or 3 days ago. Then he comes in with 2 more pair. And I've done all them today.
what
Well,
do you need done on all those shoes?
heels and insoles, 1 pair, and just I mean, something that probably should have been, some of them should have been thrown in the garbage. But
But then you'd go out of business.
oh, I wouldn't either. No. But at one time that I had boxes, I got 1 box of shoes right there to be fixed. I had boxes from this counter, just like that, slam full of shoes from there all the way back to the slat wall. And I had that shelf of men's shoes fixed. I was out over.
Is that because of COVID?
No, that was before COVID.
Wow.
I was out I said it's probably 6 weeks.
Wow.
So, and then you get people calling in, where are my shoes? My shoes have been there so and so. We done told them to be over a month. And then you'd have to dig through these boxes and find them. I tell the people who's working the front, because I had Shirley, Robert, Ronnie, and me that wait on the front. That's 4 people wait on the front. And I tell them to find it. I said, when you find anything, I'm going to fix them. And I would fix them. The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
That's right.
And you'd stop what you're doing. I was going to fix these shoes. I'm going to get rid of them shoes and out the door. And that, to me, that's stress. And you get.
Is there a type of repair where people bring it in and you just roll your eyes because it's like same old thing, I have to do this again, or not
No.
really?
I mean, I put thousands of ladies' heels on, over and over and over and over again. Then I got a pair of Louis Vuittons, but they put the red sole on. You get, you do that. I mean, as my daddy said, if you don't do it, they'll find somebody else that will. So that's why he done everything. That's why I do everything that is, some things are just impossible to fix. It's just, it's just impossible. The Pope couldn't fix it. That's why I tell him.
So I think you were saying the moment of joy is in the conclusion. So you like the process and then having it kind of.
Once you get through with it, it's like instant gratification. Yeah. It's like you get somebody come in here and says, I want heels on here. If I say, if you can wait, a few minutes, I can have this done. That's or a rip or something that I can do real fast and get them out the door. The more you fix, the more money you make. That's and if you can do something within like 5 minutes and charge $10 or $12 or whatnot, and that way that saves them a trip back, and you don't have to write a ticket for it. You don't have to write it in the book. Then you don't have to call them. When they're ready, you don't have to call them up, put them in a bag, look for them.
Because there's other jobs you lose money because it takes way longer than you
Yes.
estimate.
Well, yeah. Well, the way I tell somebody, Liz Andy used to work here, I said, basically my time's free because I don't make a paycheck. Stuff that I do it ain't free, but you know what I mean. It's pretty much free. If you can understand that, because I don't draw a paycheck.
How do you stay afloat personally?
Well, I do, but I don't say, I make $500 this week. or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, flows.
Yeah, I've made the least amount of money that I've made forever in the last since this COVID.
Even with fewer people on the payroll?
Yeah. Well, I got the PPP, which I wished I'd never got, but I got it, and I'm getting out of it now.
And why is that?
I don't know. They could draw unemployment.
Really?
If you believe me, if I had I can't draw unemployment. I mean, I won't close. I was here every day. I closed early one day at 5 o'clock.
So you haven't seen the trend of people like being in their house and looking through all their clothes and their shoes and finding, stuff and bringing it in?
Some people.
So like some people are doing that. So other people are
Some
just hanging
people,
out.
and some. I think some. Honestly, I think some people feel sorry for me bringing shoes in.
I don't think people are that kind.
I think they do. I think they're worried that I'm going to go out of business.
Well, do you have long-standing customers that are very loyal?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I got people who've been coming in here for years.
So are those the people coming in to just scurry up some shoes?
No.
Just the random people that have walked by before?
Well, I had a girl, I ain't seen her in a while. She brought in 4 pair of boots. Actually, she brought in 3 pair of boots to be shined. And a couple hours later, she comes in with another pair to be shined. So, and I ain't seen her since this COVID. It started about March. I could tell a difference in business when it's in March.
Do you ever get sick of dealing with the public?
All the time. In fact, I'm about sick of people in general.
Well, I have to go. We're getting close to last questions, but I have to go all the way to the beginning for this one. Where are your parents from? Like, from right around the Raleigh area?
No, my mom and dad is from Durham.
Okay.
Yeah, my mama's daddy was Douglas Massey, and they were farmers, and his mom and daddy actually had tenant farmers, but they lived on Fayetteville Road in Durham. Where the Lowe's is at and all that. They owned her daddy's daddy. They owned all that land in there. They've probably sold most of it within the last 5 or 6 years. But they ain't getting no money from it. But that's where they're from. And my daddy, I don't know where. I think he was from maybe. I don't know. He was from Durham. His daddy worked at Liggett Myers.
And so he got into shoe repair because he worked for his brother on the GI Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
He actually was a carpenter. And they didn't, my mama was a strict church person and didn't believe in working on Sunday. And they was going to build houses on Sunday. Daddy didn't show up. Next day, Daddy come to work on Monday. Nobody knew him. He said, I picked my tools up and left. And that's how he got into shoe business. And shoe repair people are I'm not this way, but shoe repair, he started working at the shoe shop at Little 5 Points in Durham. And the guy there that was repairing his shoes, and Daddy asked him a question. He said, how you trim this heel? Guy looked at him and said, well, if you don't know, you don't know. He didn't want to tell my daddy how to do it, afraid he'd take his job. So from then on, Daddy said, I learned how to do it. But it's, to me, why would you keep somebody from knowing something and then teaching them something that could help you out? So, but to me, it ain't make any sense. And the same guy, the grandson who worked here, his name was Oliver Thompson the third.
Grandson of the owner.
Uh-huh. The grandson of the owner. His name was Oliver Thompson the third. And they had a guy that worked here. His grandpa taught economics over here and bought this shoe shop. and he run it. My mom and dad bought for him. He run it till he was in his 80s. But the shoe repair person was here didn't want to tell Oliver how everything in here, because he wouldn't have a job. It's just nuts.
And then Oliver came back and you
Ol-
trained him?
Oliver was here when we bought the place. He worked for Mom and Dad because he didn't know a lot. So he worked here with me, and he worked on Saturdays, well, every day, and he worked on Saturday. He was in prison for drugs after he was here about 2 or 3 months. It's his second trip to Central Prison, and we got him out on work release. And he was a good worker when he was on work release. But he would come in here and work, but he also had a drinking problem and a drug problem. And so finally, I called him on it because I didn't know. I mean, I was like 21 years old, sheltered pretty much all my life. And he'd come in here, and some days he would talk. You couldn't get him to shut up. You couldn't. I said, what? I said, there's just something different. He was on speed. I finally figured it out. But I talked him into, there was a shoe shop for sale in Cary, which is still named Oliver Shoe Repair. And he bought that. And he got out of here. But he still comes in here.
Sounds like it's been quite a journey with the
I could write a
social
book.
side.
I
You
could
should.
I could write a book on my brother and my cousin who worked here. It I could.
You
Trust.
said your brother was the one who would usually take the interviews, or that was Ronnie?
That was Ronnie.
Okay.
Ronnie. That's Ronnie.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right. That's right. The Blundstone lady come in and took a bunch of pictures, and she framed them and sent them to us.
Oh.
But that's my brother. That's Ronnie. Of course, that's me.
How many years ago was that?
They weren't that long ago. My brother went off the deep end. So that's a whole nother, that's a book on that. This is that's my daddy. That's his obituary. And this, I had this when I was the only one here. Metal package. This is my daddy. Right here. That right there. This was when he was at Northgate. And this was something that he did about orthopedic work. That's 1957. In fact, I got the papers of where he bought that the first shoe shop for $500. Edgemont Shoe Shop.
Wow. Hasn't changed. Any last questions, Katy?
I always like to end with asking the interviewee if there's anything else you want to share, either about your experience or to help people understand the shoe repair business who might stumble across this interview.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Just only thing I do is one day at a time, one shoe at a time, and I hope I live long enough to retire at least 2 weeks
We hope that too.
before I kill over.
All